2, 1.
All right. Hello, VGM Together. How's everybody doing today? Super glad you could join me. My name is David CHIHLAS, also known as DAVIDPIANO around some areas of the internet. Yes, that person before was not DAVIDPIANO. I am DAVIDPIANO. I am a keyboardist, arranger, producer, and one of many transcribers for a website called VGLeadSheets. If you are not familiar with that site, VGLeadSheets is a website that houses high-quality transcriptions of video game music in lead sheet form. So for today's panel, titled VGLeadSheets Transcribing, I will take you through the entire process of how a lead sheet for the site is put together, and also give you some tips on lead sheet writing and transcribing in general, so you can be able to take something away from it and be able to put your own lead sheets together for any VGM tune, or really any tune in general. Transcribing is just a really good skill to have as a musician, and it can seem kind of daunting at first, but hopefully by the end of the day you'll be able to at least find some way to get started and just be able to start doing it yourself without too much nervousness for it. And before I get started too, I'm not really going to be reading chat throughout most of this panel. I have my list of things I want to talk about, but I will leave room at the end for any and all questions, around maybe 10 minutes or so, depending on how long this will take. So just a little pre-warning there. So the song we are going to be transcribing today is the Undertale classic, Hopes and Dreams. So we're going to be digging through this tune pretty in depth and going through the entire thing. So I guess before we start, I guess I should probably say what a lead sheet is, because not all of you may be familiar with them, you may have seen them, but what by definition actually is a lead sheet? Well, it's a type of sheet music and slash notation that basically contains the essential information for any musician to follow, which is the melody and the harmony and lyrics if there are lyrics. You see this notation is pretty new. It's probably honestly the newest type of sheet music out there, because it's you really only see this used for modern popular songs such as jazz, rock, pop, and video game music fits that pretty well too. But you don't really see this used in classical music, because classical music you're supposed to follow, you're supposed to follow exactly what's on the page, and there's not a whole lot of room for interpretation. But the thing with jazz tunes and rock tunes, there's a lot more room for interpretation. There's a lot of improv. There's a lot of, interesting arranging you can do with it. And lead sheets give you that freedom to be able to take, the basic information and develop it from there, which is why lead sheets are so accessible to all musicians, because anyone can follow them regardless of the instrument you play. So that's why VGLeadSheets I think is so important, and why I think it's such a useful tool for all musicians who want to learn this type of music. So now with that out of the way, let's get started transcribing and getting started. So the first thing that I always like to do, and you can do these in any order really, but I have a certain kind of process that I go through that usually works for me and seems to work for a lot of people. So I've already gone ahead and done a couple things. I've put the title, the composer, transcriber. I've also already mapped out the form of the tune. Mapping out the form to me is really helpful. It keeps you organized and just allows you to have a reference for where you are in the song. You might not know what the form is at first when you first listen to it, and that's fine, but at least putting something down for reference and then possibly editing later on just keeps the flow going a little better overall. But now let's actually start taking a listen to the song. So I should explain this. The software I'm using, this is MuseScore. This is what VGLeadSheets uses. Very, very powerful notation program, and it's free for anyone who wants to get started using notation software. I highly recommend. And this is Logic Pro, which is my DAW of choice, but you can use whichever one you want. And I just have an audio file of the tune along with a piano, so you can hear what I'm playing. So yeah, let's take our first listen of the song. Sure, many of you are familiar with it. Classic Undertale anthem for many of us. So let's just focus on this first section for a bit. Oh yeah, well, we'll get to that moment in a bit. But so we're gonna start off by just doing the melody first. The melody, I think, is the focal point of this, and also it can help us a lot better with some of the later things we're gonna do, which when we transcribe the harmony. So the melody here, I think you all can pretty much recognize. It's always usually the most prominent part in the mix. That bum bum bum. So how do we figure out what notes those are? Well, what the best thing to do is what I just did there. I just sang that part. You notice that? Singing is by far the best way to, I think, transcribe anything. It really allows you to really connect it to yourself and to the music before you even play it on whatever instrument you're using. You know, I'm a pianist, but you don't have to be a pianist to do this. But being able to sing it really allows you to internalize and really connect it to what you're doing. And you don't even have to sing well. You don't have to be a good singer. I'm a horrible singer. Just throwing out there. I'm not a singer, but I do sing when I transcribe because it really does help me find the notes. So bum, so there's bum bum. So what are those notes? You might not. So then once you are able to actually sing those notes, then you can kind of go on your instrument and try them. Now I already know what notes those are, but it might take you a bit to actually find them. And bum 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 bum. And now I want to figure out the rhythm of this little part. So bum bum bum. So where's the pulse first? So it's like 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. I already figured it out. I actually have a click track where you can. So I already figured out the tempo earlier as well, about 170. So then if I'm having a hard time figuring out the rhythm, what I'll do again to allow me to really understand it, just in addition to hearing it, is I'll actually clap like to the metronome. So 1 2 3 4 1 2 3. Then I'll sing the part in addition. So bum bum bum. So this rhythm's not all that complicated. It's just 1 2 3 4 1. So the first note appearing right on B1, as you would figure. It's an F. And it's also a pretty short note, so it's not being held out. It's not bum bum bum. It's bum bum bum. So I'm gonna put a little bit of space between all these notes. We're not gonna make it a half note. We're just gonna make it a quarter note. And same thing for the note above, F, and the higher F, and then C. Boom, and then okay. So there was that. These first three notes. Not too bad. Was it? I know that was a lot, but basically what I just explained is how you do everything else. There's not a whole lot of, new techniques after that. It's all just, singing, clapping if you're having trouble with it. And eventually you'll just get to a point where all of this just kind of melts together into one thing. And then with anything a little harder, then you'll go back and break it down into smaller and smaller pieces so you can really figure it out. So I mean, this is the classic Undertale anthem. So many of you are familiar with this melody. Interesting. So the first, bum bum bum, then the bum, B flat, bum bum bum. So this is a B flat. So I don't know what key we're in actually yet. So I'm not going to put a key signature for now, and just in case we have to change it, we might have to change it later on, but for now, I don't want to put it in case I have to change it later. Boom, boom, boom. We'll kind of figure out the key as we go along, just seeing more notes and seeing what notes appear the most and what doesn't. Oh, boom, boom, boom. So then the next section, boom, 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 boom. Pretty high jump there, boom, between the second and third note. Another octave. So let's just get this end of this first part right here. Yep. The wrong note there, boom. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Boom. To a high A. 1, 2. So boom, boom, 1, 2, 3. All right. So that next note doesn't appear on the third beat. It appears on the fourth beat. So we will just another B flat too. We already have a bunch of B flats, so that's already a good sign that we were probably this keyword probably has a B flat in the key signature, but we're still gonna need to have a little more information before I get to that. Bum 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 dum. So it's a D, and then all right. So we have that. So then we have here this little run. So this run here, this is where we kind of get into a little bit of a gray territory. Is this part the main melody? Or is it a counter melody, you may say, a secondary part? To me, I think it's a secondary part. That accompaniment, that other string, even though it's just one instrument playing here, it's a string section. That string section, that string accompaniment that's playing, that bum 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 bum, it's lost in its last measure in place of that run. However, that run is everyone knows that run. It's a pretty melodic figure. However, I do not think it is the main melody here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include it here, but I'm going to include it in small notes. I'm also going to include it in a different voice because it starts in the middle of that second part. So what I'm going to do here. So hold on, let's figure out what that is again. So it's a little bit faster than what we were dealing with before. So I didn't even sing that very well, but I still have an idea of what it is. I think that's what it is. And it's all constant bum 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 bum. So just constant eighth notes. And then to make them small, we're just gonna highlight this, and then go to notes and small. So there we go. So that's basically this first section right here. Then it repeats. Nothing new here. So the second time this line comes up, it's a lot louder. It's a new instrument. It's a guitar. It's much more prominent. So I'm going to say this is the main melody here. So here for this, I'm actually going to include this in big notes. So we'll just copy and paste that and make them big again, and then we're good to go with that. I might do some editing on this later, but for now, let's just keep moving on. So it's like so this part here, yeah, it said these guitars are kind of transitioning us into the rock section of this song, which and then they're like those guitars and synths are the main melody here. So that's why I would be inclined to say this is a main part. Oh yeah. Who doesn't love that drop there? So good. All right, so this is our next section right here. So that's another section. That's the next section. Also, I totally forgot to label sections, so we're going to do that. This is section A. VGLeadSheets, we label them by standard letters. We don't do like verse chorus thing if a song does exhibit that. We usually just do letters. So this part here is actually the same thing as before. It's the same Undertale motif that we've heard before. However, this time these notes are all connected. I would say they're all being held out for their durations. So I'm going to. There do sound like there's a few different notes there, but I'll get to that in a sec. For quickness sake, copy and paste is always your friend here, by the way. If you hear something that's remotely similar to something before, always use copy and paste and then edit it from there. Just saves time. However, but this time all these notes are connected, so we're gonna make these half notes. And actually, I do want to see if this note here, this C, does last the entire bar. I did not make that out last time. It does not sound like it, actually. It sounds like it's being actually released on the fourth beat. So it's like 1, 2, 3, off. Did you kind of hear that? Might be tough to make out at first, but I definitely hear like there's a gap between those two notes. So I'm just gonna make this a dotted half note. Then I would assume the same thing for the other one. Yep. Yeah, they all sound like they're being held for about 3 beats instead of 4. Oh, I hit the wrong button there. I'm always used to these. I always use these key commands for MuseScore. I'm not gonna necessarily go over them now in case you use a different program, but if you have any questions about them, feel free to ask them later on. And right here is a good example of probably why it's being held out for 3, because right here you can't do that. So then let's take a listen to this, because this part sounds a slightly different than before. So it doesn't sound like it's quite going up actually to this high A. Maybe it's a little soft, but the strongest note I hear there is this F. So that's the note I'm actually going to include there. Then this, and then it goes down to the C there. Dang. Down. And then another B flat. All right, so there's a lot of B flats. There's a lot of B flats here. So I'm already gonna say that this is at least has a B flat in the key signature. So so I don't have to keep inputting B flats, we'll just put that there for now. Then there's this section and repeats. And then there's that line again, but it's all like different sound. I would say this is a secondary part again. So I can include that. I'll just copy and paste this whole thing. I'll have to change this note again, but that's all right. Oh, what did I hit? I made it a dotted core. No, all right, that'll work. So then, next section. Move on to this next section. Section C. ba-da-dum bum bum ba-da-doo-da bum 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 ba-da da-dun-dun-dun-dun. So this song has a lot of repeats in it. It's like, so this song is decently long, as you saw from the form I mapped out. It's 2 whole pages, but there's a lot of repeating going on, so it doesn't make it quite nearly as challenging. We haven't had anything too difficult rhythmically, and nothing sounds too weird here either. Bum 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 bum. So, all right, so this. I don't need this. Oh, okay. So this. Oh wait. All right. So interesting thing that came up here. So this melody right here is kind of low. It goes down to this low F. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm actually going to move this whole thing up an octave. You see these red notes here? That means that what I'm writing is below the instrument's range. And I have a flute sound here, but generally what we do here at VGLeadSheets is we don't want anything to go below the violin's range, which is a G below middle C. And here we just had this F. So that note would be out of the violin's range. So we will move this whole thing up an octave in order to fit, so it fits more instruments' ranges. That's just a good thing to do. And if it's same goes for if it's like really high, my MuseScore might not catch it too, but if you have like a bunch of ledger lines above and not a whole lot below, might be best to move it down an octave as well. So just these 3 notes right now. And then bum ba dum bum 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 ba. We have a little more rhythmic, things going on there. Bum ba do bum bum, and always feel free to like take it slower as well. I'm doing this all at tempo, but always feel free to slow things down if you're having a hard time hearing anything. So bum ba do bum 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 ba do bum. So everything's still coming right on the beat. We just have a few eighth notes now. Oh, we have an E flat. Okay. So we have an E flat. So interesting. Then we have another E flat. Bum bum. Then some more eighth notes. Bum, 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 ba-dum. And then I think it repeats. All right. Yep. And then it repeats again. The whole 8-bar section repeats again. So good old copy and paste again. All right, now the rhythm's getting sounds a little more challenging. Ba do da 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 da. So da da ba da bum. Ba dum ba dum ba da do da. Oh, nice, yeah. Ba dum ba ba da 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 da. Yeah, so there's that whole little phrase there. So that's a little more complicated. So let's take it in small chunks. Let's just get. So it starts off the same. Ba do da dum. So nothing. Let's just get that out of the way, and then. Now this measure, da 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 dum. get that first half. Da 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 da. All right, so ba dum bow. So what's happening there? It sounds like so we have two eighth notes, da da, F and B flat, and then the rest of the, and then we have what sounds like a rest, da dum bow, and then that third note comes in the middle of the beat, ba dum boom. C, ba dum. So there's that first half, ba dum boom, ba dum boom, ba dum ba dum boom. Yeah, ba dum boom. So you see how I'm singing that note in between 2 and 3 there. So that's where, so it's acting as like a syncopation almost. But well, it is a syncopation. Yeah. So then the second half of that bar, ba dum boom, ba do bum. So that last note comes right in on B4, ba dum ba da do dum. Then two pretty fast notes there. So I would bet to say those are 16th notes. First case of 16th notes here. And they come in the middle of the beat, because otherwise, well, they would have to come right before beat 4. And that note ends off the rest of that measure. So there's that measure there. Slightly more challenging rhythm, but we got through it. So then these next two measures. Da 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 da. So pretty similar. What I'm hearing is it sounds pretty similar to the first one actually. Boom boom da da da. Except it starts on beat 3 this time. And new notes as well. Yeah. So C, E flat. We have E flat, more E flats. So maybe this key signature also has an E flat in it. Sorry, when you're talking along, always remember to stay hydrated, folks. I'm not sponsored either by Poland Springs. All right, so da 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 da. Yeah, it's the same exact rhythm as here, except now instead of starting on B1, it starts on beat 3. So that's not super strange. Everything still lines up all right. You're just misplacing it by 2 beats. All right, so makes sense. So here, I'll just copy and paste them. I will have to move it up a little bit. And then just 2 chord notes to end off. Boom, boom. And then I think it repeats again. Yep. So we have this little like bell part up at the top when it comes in, when it repeats the second time. Like that part up there. I'm not going to include that. It is a secondary part, but we do have a main melody, I think, overtaking it. So I would say leave it out for this part. You only really include the second melody part if there's not another melody taking it, or if you think that second melody is of as equal importance as the first one, as the main one. And here I don't think it is. So yeah, that's the next section. So again, yeah, lots of repetition, but no, it's a great melody. It's a great motif. So that's why we're able to just repeat this over and over again without it sounding, boring or monotonous. So now this next section. Bum, bum, bum. Bum. Okay. So a little new melody going on here. Bum, ba-da-dum, bum. Ba-da-dum, dum, dum, bum. Then da 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 da. And then sounds like it repeats again. And then the glorious key change. I'll get to that. We'll get to that key change in a minute, but let's get this section here. So the rhythm has simplified again. Bum ba doo dum bum. Just quarter note to eighth. And then bum ba da dum bum. C C D C B flat. All right. And then it goes up to D. To oops, D. E flat again. All right, we're seeing E flat, so then da da dun 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 dun. So just half notes, G and F. Then same thing, except I said now we have more eighth notes. So I will edit that. And then yep, same thing there. And now we got this. Now we got this key change coming up right here. Does not sound like it's any different than. So that's an F sharp. So it sounds like the same thing we heard before, but now it sounds like it's up a half step, which makes sense. A lot of music when it changes keys usually likes to go up a half step. It's to bring up kind of the energy a little bit. Always going up a half step kind of. Always kind of brings up the energy a little bit. That makes sense. Hope I haven't overwhelmed you with too much energy just then. I went too far. All right, so it's the same. So it's the same. Sounds like the same exact melody now, just put up a half step. So yeah. Oh yeah. All right. So here it changes. We have a little different melody there. Ba-da-bow. Da-da-da. Hold on, that's cool. What is that though? Da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da. Da-do-da-da-do-boom. So just a slightly different thing there, but here I said it's pretty much the same thing as before. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy and paste it, and then just copy and paste the original one, and then you just hit the up arrow, and boom, it's now all up a half step. However, we don't want all those accidentals, so we have to put this in a new key. Given all the E flats, I'm now willing to say this song has a B flat and an E flat in the key signature, which then means if it's moving up a half step, there's it's going to be this key signature. So this would be the key of B flat major, B flat and E flat is a key signature, and then we're going up to B, and B major is 5 sharps. And look, all those accidentals just disappeared by doing that. So that's a pretty good guess, I would say. All right, but then these last 2 measures change. So starts on the F sharp. Again, we're keeping this all up an octave because it does go below the G. So some more syncopation, it sounds like. B, that's B, to A sharp. Yep, so goes right on the right in between B4 and B1 of the next measure. So then this last measure then starts around the and of 1. And same thing here. Yeah, right. That was a melody. That repeats again. Classic. Then this section's new. So so yep. Slightly more complicated rhythm here, and also you have a decent amount of this left, and I do want to get to the harmony, so I may cut the melody a little short. But see, everything I've been doing has been exactly the same from what I said at the beginning. Sing it, clap the rhythm if you need to. Eventually, you might not be, you don't have to do all these things that I'm doing, but when starting out, these are definitely the best solutions. So I may, cut these things a little short just so I have enough time to get to the harmony and I have time for questions. One, da 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 da. Okay. So it comes in right on B2. Then just quarter notes. So in that rhythm there. So 1, 1, 2, down, bow. Then our last note comes in, so it's a half note. One, two, all right, and then that last note is anticipated, which means it just comes in a little earlier than you expect. You expect boom, boom, boom. Instead, it's boom, boom, boom. So it just comes in an eighth note early. And here's actually a good example right here of another secondary part. So that guitar there, I would include that as a secondary part. I think that's an important part to have in this lead sheet. How long does that note hold out for? All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. All right. So yeah, it just. F sharp. And again, I will include those as small notes. All right, so we're about 20 minutes left of this thing, so I do want to go ahead and do the harmony. I know we didn't get to finish the melody. We're close, but again, it's all basically the same from here on out. But I do want to talk about the harmony a little bit because that can definitely be the I think that's the more challenging part for many of us. How do we go about doing the harmony for these lead sheets? So there's a few ways to figure out the harmony, and you can use like additional resources to kind of help you isolate the harmony even more. But the core thing to do here is to just hear the bass. The bass is your best friend when it comes to the harmony, or whatever the lowest note of the song is at the moment. And then you just gotta hear, where the chords change, and figure out the bass, and then from the bass, then you figure out, all right, what chords is it? A major chord or is it a minor chord? Hopefully for most of you can figure out, if you hear a chord, you don't even have to know what chord it is, but does it sound major or minor? Or so whatever chords I'm playing, hopefully you just kind of get that. You just kind of can figure out right away, or with a little bit of thinking what chord is, what chords are major and minor. But the bass, again, I said, is really where all your information is going to come from. So here, actually, in the beginning, this is a different example. There's no bass here. It's just the string section. So we're hearing for the lowest note. And the lowest note in this accompaniment, I hear is an E flat. And then a D, and then the chords change here to a D. And sometimes also, and going back to what I said before, usually I like to transcribe the melody first, because the melody can sometimes give you hints to what the chord may be. Sometimes the melody will play, chord tones of whatever chord it is, or it'll like outline the chord by arpeggiating or something. Not all the time, but it's something to keep an eye out for which is why I like to figure out the melody, because it can give you hints later on when doing the harmony. So I hear an E flat. So to do chords for a lead sheet, we're just going to input them as chord symbols. So for that, you just type Command K and MuseScore. I hear some E flat. Is it major or minor? To be honest, so that accompaniment I hear as, I don't actually hear a third in that. And the third, this would be E flat major and this is E flat minor. And to be honest, I don't actually it doesn't sound major or minor to me, because I don't hear a third. It kind of sounds major. You could possibly argue it's major, but I don't actually hear that G in there. And if you're really trying to hear a specific note, like, so then you're figuring out a chord, and then maybe it's a more complicated tune, or like, oh, is there a seventh in there? Is there a ninth? Is there like extended harmonies? Is there like a more complicated jazz chord? Well, to do that, then you gotta figure out, right, what is that? What would be that note in that chord? So if it's the, if it's the seventh, if you think it might be a major seventh chord, you gotta hear that. You gotta, all right, it's a D, and then, well, one, can you sing the D, and then, do you actually hear it in that? Do you actually hear it in there? I don't hear it, so it's not a major seventh chord. I don't think there's a G in there either. So what I'm gonna put here instead, because there's no, all I hear is the root and the fifth, which is what this song is built off of a lot, just because rock tunes like to do this. I think it's just a power chord. It's just E flat 5, and E flat 5 means it's just E flat and B flat. That's all you have there. Then this chord, all right, the next chord, you have a D there. So, and then as I said, you can sometimes use the melody. The melody's playing an F and a C, which aren't, you know, E flat major or E flat minor. Neither of those two notes are in that chord. So unfortunately, this is a case here where the melody does not really help. However, in the next chord, I think it does. We have an F and A and we have F, A, and another A. And then the accompaniment is playing this. It's playing D and an A, but also the melody has an F. There you go. There's a chord right there. Now, does this sound major or minor to some of you? To me, this is minor. I know this is a minor chord, but even if you didn't know if this was a major or minor, just does it sound major or minor? It sounds a lot more minor. So we're gonna put this chord as D minor, and that's how you would put D minor. You would put a little hyphen afterwards. And the nice thing about MuseScore is it'll actually play the chord for you if you like click on the letter. So if it sounds similar to what you just heard, then you can always reference it. That's a relatively new update, and I think it was a really good one. Then the next part. So then the bass, or then the lowest notes. I hear a G. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. It's all the same. Yeah, let's get to the me thing where you actually hear the bass. One nice thing you can do with figuring out the harmony is if you do have the actual audio file and actually have this pulled up here, you can pretty much any DAW has an EQ. So what you can do is you can actually cut out some of these high frequencies so the bass is really the loudest instrument in this mix now. So I just took out a bunch of the frequencies. Now you can really make out that bass. And the kick drum I'm gonna open up a little bit. So the bass is kind of doing my piano back. Just kind of going on that E flat for a while and then goes back down to the D. Like I said, since this is a rock tune, it's mostly going to be a lot of power chords, which are just roots and fifths. So it's pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot of crazy, color chords going on here. But you do want to look out in case you do hear any interesting notes. And then one other section I want to bring up. So here, I'm going to take off the EQ again for a sec. So we only hear some power chords here. But then right here when I noticed, do you hear it? There's a very faint pad in the background. And this is going to be a lot of help to the harmony as well. It's faint, and it's hard for me to kind of isolate that in an EQ, but I hear it playing this. So this is going to actually be help for my harmony as well. So here we actually do have some more complicated harmony, it sounds like. Sounds like it's playing these chords right here. And then the harmony, I would say, drops out right here. It's just the melody. So going back to so right here, what I would do, actually, what I would do differently is I'd probably make this a second ending. And then a little bit of editing I have to do. And second time through, I would say this is no chord, and to say it's no chord, you would put n.c, and that tells you that no one should play any harmony there. It's just the melody. That's all you're going to be dealing with. So yeah, unfortunately, we are sort of running out on time. I wish I was able to talk a little bit more about this stuff, but as you can see, there's a lot to this, and I was going fast just because I have to deal with time restraints. But at the core of it, you don't have to go as fast as this, and you don't have to do this all at once either. Break it up into any like small manageable chunks that you can. That's really what I'm trying to take away from this. That you can do all these things as long as you don't try to overwhelm yourself by doing too much of it at once. Set goals for how much you want to do at a time. You don't have to do this all at one time. Say, all right, I want to just get the C section melody done today, or get the chords for the last part of the song. And I think that will allow you to kind of figure things out a lot quicker, and allow you to eventually you'll just be able to do it quicker and more efficiently. And then just, as I said, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. But yeah, since we're almost running out of time here, I'll pull up chat now, and I want to answer any specific questions that you have about anything I've talked about, or perhaps something I didn't talk about. Yes, Carlos, that is an E flat sus3. You are correct. And yeah, sometimes it might take a little bit of time. Like probably like I didn't finish it, but even after, I'll go back tomorrow and probably look at this, and I might make a few more adjustments to it. But eventually, also, this song will appear on VGLeadSheets. So look forward to that once it's completed and kind of reviewed through. Have I ever used Finale? I have not used Finale, although Finale I know is an excellent software program, and anything I showed you today, you can also do on Finale. And also, I guess I'll point this out as well. On my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/DavidPiano, I'm going to be doing more of these. I'm going to be doing more of these on my Twitch in future streams at a much more reasonable pace. So you can be able to come and watch me, and I'll answer questions as they come along too. So feel free to follow my Twitch channel if you want to see these more done at a more relaxed tempo, you could say. Someone who's done, oh, absolutely, Chris Darius. Pleasure. And again, if you haven't checked out VGLeadSheets, go check it out. It's a wonderful resource for all musicians who want to learn video game music. And lots of fellow transcribers are here in chat right now watching, which shouts to you all. You all are awesome people. But yeah, if you have any other questions, I will be happy to answer them now, or said you can come to my Twitch streams and I'll do them then. I love the engraving jokes you all are throwing at me. All right. Well, if you don't, if there are no particular questions, it just had an update. Interesting. Master Chill, thank you. You do have any ear training? I do have some ear training. You don't need, so, I might have been going over some, some theory, some kind of more advanced theory, terminology, or just general ear training things. You don't necessarily need that. I said, you need a little bit in order to kind of, if you want to put it out on paper, but if you just want to do it by ear, some people just transcribe by ear, and just like learn it without having to write it down. And for that, you don't need any theory knowledge. You don't need ear training either. You just need to be able to, hear the notes, sing, and then you can transfer it to your instrument. It's gotta be in your head before it's in the instrument. That's a good quote to take away. In your head before it's in the instrument. You don't think you've heard the term solfege? Solfege is an ear training technique where you go like do, re mi fa sol la ti do. Where you from like the Sound of Music. Do re mi. That's an ear training technique. You don't need to know that to do this, and it could be useful for some people getting started out to kind of hear the relationships between intervals, but again, you don't need it. And I don't have perfect pitch either. I would say I have really good relative pitch and good pitch memory, but I don't have perfect pitch. Hot take, Danny. Hot take. I'm not responsible for any of the theory fights that have been broken out in chat. All right, though. We are running out. I guess, out of time. So again, thank you all for coming by. It was really. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you took something away from it. And just hoping that it kind of gave you the inspiration to start doing this yourself. It's a transcribing is just such a really useful tool as a musician, no matter what level you are in musicianship. It can really take it to the next level if you just spend a little time with it. Thank you for VGM Together for allowing me the opportunity to do this panel. Great. And yeah, shouts to VGLeadSheets again. I'll have to check out that update. To answer your question, Christerius, it is not a public Discord. We cannot, we don't just take it from everyone. It's where all our secrets are kept, as you may say. But yeah, but trust me that there will be. Oh, Baba Yetu just got published. Awesome. Yeah. So again, there was an update got published. There's going to be tons of more songs, so many more great songs that'll be coming out within the next few weeks, few updates. So look forward to that. And go nuts with VGLeadSheets. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can follow my Twitch channel while I'll be doing these, or just follow me on Twitter or Instagram. I'm happy to answer any questions related to these, to Lychee writing or transcribing, because it's something I enjoy doing quite a bunch. Or just ask any VGLeadSheets member. I'm sure we'd all be happy to help you. So yeah, thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you all somewhere else throughout VGM Together. Enjoy the rest of VGM Together, and stay tuned for the Final Fantasy 7 analysis coming up next. That'll be cool. All right, take care, everyone. Poyo to all, and peace.